Hi, Trevor at Spark Alliance here. We recently did some Microsoft Outlook, Teams, OneDrive, and SharePoint training. These are some of the fundamentals and basics for these specific Microsoft products. We will be getting into more detailed trainings and videos to come. The first up is Outlook. I'll let John take it away.
Outlook basically is the email program that some of you are using now for Gmail. And what that's going to look like is the application still functions the same, but we're going to have to basically remove your Google email profile or add a second profile that's for the Microsoft 365 services. So right now they are kind of competing in the sense that you're using Google email, but technically using Microsoft's desktop app. Okay. The nature of the system is that being cloud first, it just means that the desktop app is a convenience for people that are familiar with it, but you can always access your email obviously other ways. You know, you have the access on your phone, you can go to a web page and actually get to what they call the cloud app, which basically is all encompassing. And what that means is that you're not committed to having to go to your computer on your desktop app to get to your information in your email. You can literally jump on any device, period, as long as you know your username and password, and log into your system and get your stuff. And so that's kind of the intent by any of these cloud systems. The same way you go to Gmail now, you're going into the system that's out over on that data center in the cloud, and you're able to get to it no matter which browser you open. You can go on your computer, it doesn't matter. And you log in with your credentials, and it's user-based, not device-based. That's kind of the strategy behind things. So to set up the desktop app locally, there's configurations that are in there that are pointing to your Gmail account that we're going to have to switch over to Microsoft, basically. In the meantime, every one of these programs and applications has the cloud app, so to speak, that you can open like Chrome or Edge, internet browser, and you can get into the we'll call it the online application, and you can get to all your information. I'm going to show you that next. So for some reason, if you had like a desktop app problem, so if you had Outlook's not working for you, it's crashed, it's got issues and you can't open it, something like that, you always have it's really a plan A, but most people would feel like plan B is that you open your browser, go to the outlook.office.com and log in, and you can get back in your email and get working again. So that way, say for example, you do send a request to us, hey, IT, my computer's broke, I can't get into my email. Well, you're not stuck. You really aren't, because you have the ability to go into that other method. You can open the browser and get to your app until we fix it on the local desktop app. Does that make sense? So you're never pinned down with one method or one access point. Not to mention, if you also have it configured on your phone, you'd be able to do things from your phone as well. So you always have kind of these options, so to speak. Now, definitely report it to us. Let us know something's broke. We'll get to it as soon as we can. But we want to make sure that you know that you're not in a position where it's like, oh man, I can't do my job. Do you guys all understand the concepts of like the mobile versus the cloud app versus the desktop app? Yes, no, maybe?
No, not really.
Okay, I'll give you the visual.
Okay.
So let's get the presentation turned off for a second. I'll show that. So the first place basically that you start with all things, whether it was Google, previously, or Microsoft, basically is where your source of information is. So your central source of information, like we talked about out on the cloud resource, is Microsoft's created kind of this portal where you log in, and it gives you kind of like your own kind of like virtual desktop, if you will, and all of your programs available to you and all your recent files, all the things that you would see on your regular computer on your desktop, where you go to like open Windows Explorer, you can go to your like recent files, or you open Word, you go to your recent files. It kind of groups all that more centrally. So it makes it even easier to get to. The other thing is this is highly integrated to the desktop apps. Okay, so when you go into these different files, for example, if I wanted to open this test file, I could open it just inside the browser and it never leaves the cloud side, and it'll open an app and show me the data, or I could open it locally on my desktop. So you can do either or. That's what you're doing now, actually, in Google, because when you click on a file and you have your Google stuff synced, you're actually opening the file that does live out on the cloud. You're just seeing it, viewing it, editing on your desktop. And then when you save it, it just puts those changes and edits back up to the cloud. That way, if your computer died, if it burned to the ground, if you jump to your mobile device and you go and look at that file or the email on your mobile device, that's how it's there. Is because it all sits out here and devices basically just hang off of it. And so that way it's something where you could lose your phone your information's still okay. Your access is still okay. That's the major change in tech these days. Because obviously once upon a time, it's like, oh man, my laptop died. My world has come to an end. My phone has died. My world, and for those that have their life in tech, right? So those that don't, you're like, whatever. Phone's a phone, you know.
If there is for instance, we won't be covering a whole lot of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint today. But if you have like a document, like there's an estimate sheet that I know a lot of people use, and it's like a legacy document that's been used years throughout different forms of Excel. There are some formatting changes that don't actually cross over to the web version all that great. So if you run across that on any other documents that you have and the formatting just not lining up, just send us an email, let us know, and we can work on it and try to get the formatting changed so that way.
Yeah, there's massaging that can happen,
online,
you know, that kind of thing. Charles gets it. He's gonna be like, yeah, I've been there. So again, in the end, you kind of have this, it's this portal or dashboard to get to all your stuff. And obviously there's a whole series of applications that exist in your account. The primary ones that we're talking about to use the most is Outlook and OneDrive and SharePoint, et cetera. So we're not going to dive into all the depth of all these things outside of those 4 apps. But in essence, if you go into your mail, see if I go to, literally, if I would have just clicked, which I'll show you here, if I just go here and click on the Outlook app, see it'll open into my mail. So that way I have one central place to get all things. It actually is simpler in a lot of ways than trying to manipulate jumping between apps on the desktop. But there are obviously variations of feature sets from app to app. There's various functionality things like, you know, Trevor's talking about. And the idea though, again, is that you can basically move organically throughout your life and always have like central access to all your stuff. So to talk about this in some detail, to cover Outlook, we have the traditional, you know, you can send a mail message, you can receive a mail message, you got your folders, you know, things like that. But the reality is you still have all your other things like your contacts, which they have now changed to people. That's the Microsoft change for the name. It is your contacts. They just renamed it as people. You have the ability basically for files where you can look at them and see if there's files in your mailbox. If you just want to search for attachments directly, like you're hunting for a file kind of thing. This is a test account, so we don't have all that activity. It is. So see the files that do exist in my mailbox, it just puts those there for me. So I don't got to search through my inbox and where's that email with the attachment. It'll group your files, right?
That's marvelous.
Yeah. Again, these are tips and tricks, right? And so the calendar, that's still the same. You know, if you were using Google Calendar, this is just the Microsoft equivalent. It's obviously to manage your own agendas, tasks, events. However, you can do calendar sharing, which is really nice. So like if you have groups and teams of people and you all have your different calendars, you can share calendars to each other as a team, and then you can kind of overlay all the calendars together. And now you have kind of like almost like a dispatch calendar or a team calendar inherently without having to build a separate one. So you just basically have all the people in my team, and I just turn on this calendar, this calendar, this calendar, and then it shows my stuff. You can color code it so I'm blue, the other person's purple, the other person's red, the other green, etc. Now I can look at everything and go, man, okay, everybody's doing this stuff. If I wanted to get the team together, where's like the white space, so to speak, just visually right off top. There's also a calendaring assistant that when you go to create events and schedule things, it actually will look for, okay, tell me all the people that you basically want to attend the meeting and are they available or not on the time frame that you want, and I'll tell you. Oh yeah, there's 4 people that aren't available. Here's the best time, and they'll propose the first time available that everybody in your list is available to have that meeting. Now, everybody needs to stay up on their calendars in order for that to work, but the idea being that you have that collaborative approach in the system. So the other thing is that when you move off of this from the cloud app side, there are some features on the desktop app that I want to point out. And so in the desktop app, this is what a lot of people use today, and it has all the integrations to Gmail and whatnot now. There's one very, very misleading thing about the desktop app that confuses a lot of people. And that's going to be when you go to actually create a mail message, and you know how you actually just start typing in the to line and it pops up an email from somebody you've communicated with at some point? That's not actually a contact saved in your account. So you can lose it. It's basically just like a recent list of activity, and the system tries to look at all the emails you've had historically and says, okay, I'm going to index those mail addresses for your convenience as almost like an additional layer of intelligence. but it in no way is guaranteed that it's going to stay. If you start deleting mail messages and those people aren't actually in the mailbox anymore for any of the addresses that you've sent or received. And so you literally need to go, and a lot of people don't do this, is that tip, is that when you send a mail or open a mail and read it, you want to add the contact into your people list, right? So like if I open this mail here and I want to say, okay, add to Outlook contacts, you need to do that. Otherwise it doesn't stay in your contact list.
Right click?
It is right click, or you can't open the mail and just, highlight it. There's lots of options for it. You can obviously manually go into your contacts and type them in. There's other ways to import that stuff from your contact lists, and that's what we do. So we typically try to grab your whole mailbox, your calendar, your contacts, your email, and we push it all over from Google to Microsoft. So I will tell you that, no technology is perfect. If it was, I'd be out of a job, right? So there are times when you do the data migrations, there might be like a couple of records here or there that didn't transfer, whether it's like internet things that we can't control, or, a piece of data that just kind of got broken in transit or whatever. So we try to do validations and have people look at things and say, hey, okay, yeah, this all looks good. All my important stuff's here. It all checks out. Or no, I'm missing, these contacts, or I'm missing these files, et cetera. And then we can go back to the original source and try to extract those things during a migration. Just another little tip for you. So the idea is, though, that the system pushes everything as close to 100% as possible and get everything migrated in your system, so you don't have to do all that work with like transferring everything over yourself and spending all that tedious time. That's actually what we're doing right now in this project. So we did Diversified, for example, a little smaller. Everything's over. We moved the mail, we moved their files, we moved all their stuff, and now they're all live. And you guys are bigger, and we have more teams. That there's also a request, if you will, to have some like restructure done in the new system compared to what was before. And so we're trying to go through that process too, so that way you guys have a heads up now that, hey, it's coming down the pipe, this is going to be the new system. And also we're going to try to have a new clean structure that hopefully is more organized and makes sense for you guys. So in relationship to this tip, add to contacts, because that way it'll also transfer those contacts consistently across all of your devices that you're accessing your account from. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to have like a variation. You'll have some stuff in this device, some stuff in this device. And wait a minute, I know I sent an email to that guy. And yeah, did you send it on your computer? Did you send it on your phone? So centralize it, put it in your contact list. You guys have any questions about any of that yet? Nothing? Trying to make this interactive, so that way it's not just listen to me drone on. Okay, so like I said, I'll try to get through stuff as quickly as possible because I want to hit all of it and then get you anything you can think of, fire away. So the other thing is that your signatures for your email will live in your desktop app if you have a signature, but you will have to transfer it over to the new mailbox because it's mailbox specific. Okay, so if you've created a signature for yourself, you have a company standard signature, when things get migrated over, we typically try to make sure we grab that signature, set up the new mailbox, and then put it in. But just be aware that if you go to your new mailbox and you send mail, like, hey, what happened? Why is my signature not there when I go to new message? Or I replied and it's not there like it used to be, because signatures are mailbox specific.
Can you show them how to find the signatures? Because I know that is one thing that's tough for someone that hasn't.
Another simple pro tip, just click on new mail. And the ribbon, they try to keep it clean, right? So if you actually expand the ribbon, which is basically just this strip or ribbon of all the buttons and features, and you have basically a signature button right on that ribbon, you can go here and go to signatures and then manipulate them at will. That's the quickest, easiest way to get to it. It's just off of the new mail.
Is there another way to do it?
There is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can go to the options. It's a little deeper. That's why I'm trying to keep it easy and high level.
The only way I know how to do it.
Yeah, so you could go into your account and you could go to your account options and you can drill down on all this and get to it. Yeah, but the easy way is just new message. And then the other thing about all these buttons that are here on this ribbon, if you have certain things you do and you do it a lot, you can absolutely put like an extra button or feature or things that you do on your ribbon. So it's quick and easy, like quick button stuff. The other thing that you'll see here in your mailbox is you'll have this groups concept now. And the groups concept is basically something that's not new in Microsoft perspective, but it might be new to some people in the way that they're kind of like resurrecting that concept to make it easier for management of people and teams. Because there's lots of places in the system where if you want to do quick work about sharing information to a lot of people and do it quickly, you do it by group. right? So they have it now where all of the applications you saw on that list, the SharePoint, the OneDrive, et cetera, they're trying to really bring it back to people's attention that, hey, you can do these things in group form, because I think there's been a lot of history where people have gotten away from it because it hasn't been in people's faces about doing things in group form. And so you just kind of create your own manual lists where you go through and select everything and like, okay, I want this person, this person, this. It's actually better to spend 5 minutes, create a group for things if you're doing it consistently and you're doing it across a lot of people on a team, and just set the group up. And then ultimately you can always fire it off on that group as a one-click thing. Oh man, shoot, I forgot to add this person.
Where do you save that?
So there's options. We can build groups centrally. You guys have the power to build individual groups for yourself as teams. And those groups basically are all over the system, but it's the same central group concept. So like if I build a group, it's in the TCP industrial system. So inherently it's going to be a group on the list for potentially everybody to use. So like if you build a group of people that are doing design work or something like that, and you create that group, there'll be a group in the system available to decide, okay, we want other people to leverage that group or not. So we can do it either way. Now, if we want to make it more controlled, we could make it where nobody can create groups unless it goes through like a request process, and then we actually create the groups under control, set permissions, things like that. But the system's designed to be collaborative, right? And have you guys have power and control to be able to kind of organically do what you need to do as you need to do it. And so there's always kind of the adjusting of the dials, right? And adjusting of the volume to get it, each environment's different. So it's just making you guys aware of the features in the system. And then as time goes on and use the systems, the dials will get adjusted, kind of a thing.
Thank you for checking out our Microsoft Outlook training. I hope you got some good nuggets out of that. We will be doing some more advanced training on Outlook in videos to come. For now, go ahead and check out one of our other Microsoft Office trainings.